Hi guys, I'm Woodcraft Hamster and I thought I'd do another quick video in my prepping series. And today I want to talk about water. Now obviously it's fundamental, everybody needs water. And what do you do if you don't have either a working supply or you're not able to get down to the local shops to buy bottled water? And there's a number of things you can do, and I've got a few of the bits here that I would look to use if I needed to. Now again, I've spoken about my my views on prepping and sort of what I'm prepping for. It's all very basic stuff. It's not for sort of really long-term survival, that kind of thing. But if there was a water mains failure, or if there was some sort of flooding which contaminated the water supply, albeit there would be an abundant supply of water, it wouldn't necessarily be drinkable. So these are just a couple of things that I would normally use, generally when I'm away bushcrafting, so it's stuff that I've already got to hand. But first and foremost, really simple. You can buy these from most camping or sort of chemist stores, things like that. And these are water purification tablets. Now they usually come in two parts like this. You've got a chlorine tablet, which is what cleans and sterilises the water, kills all the nasty bacteria. And you've got these, which are neutralising tablets. And all they do is really take away the sort of the slightly bleachy, nasty taste of the chlorine. So these are a really simple and effective way to sterilise water. I use this when I go out camping, things like that. So really nice, really affordable, really small, take up very little space. So great for bushcrafting and also great for just sticking in a drawer or wherever you're keeping your preps. And these work really well and almost hand in hand with something like this. Now this is just a pot that I use when I go bushcrafting. It was the first one I had to hand. I've got billy cans, I've got stainless steel flasks, I've got loads of different things, but they all do the same job, and that is allow me to sterilise water through boiling it. And that's probably one of the most fundamental and easiest ways of making water safe. Now boiling water will not necessarily remove every kind of nasty sort of agent that's in there. It does a very good job with things like biological agents, viruses, that kind of thing. If you've got heavy metals in there or other chemicals, it doesn't necessarily remove them. But if you're looking at a sort of a river or something like that, something that you know shouldn't have anything, let's say man-made in there, boiling water is a really good way of going. Now all I would do, I'd fill this up, stick it over my fire, stick it over my stove, whatever heat source I'm using, let it come to a rolling boil for about 3 or 4 minutes, and that generally should be safe to drink. What I don't have here, only because I don't own one at the moment, you can use things called millbank bags, or you can improvise making your own. So basically, a millbank bag is a canvas bag. It doesn't have to be canvas, but it tends to work slightly better, that you pour water in. So it's almost like a shoe or a sock shape. You pour the water in the top, and because the canvas holds water quite well, it will very slowly drip out water. And what the canvas does is it takes out any kind of silt, dirt, sand, any kind of sort of physical bits that so if you've got really muddy, murky, dirty water, you pour it in there and it will come out relatively clean. And that's really useful, because you don't want to be drinking sort of dirty, mucky water. There's a good chance it's going to give you stomach complaints, things like that. If you don't have a millbank bag, you can take anything from, you know, a t-shirt, a pillowcase, yeah, anything you can find that you can pour water through and act as basically a strainer. Now it will take away sort of big things like leaves and little sticks and stuff like that. But the how can I put this? The harder or the thicker the material, the less the material will let water through straight away, the more it will pick up sort of the debris and the dirt and the silt and that kind of thing. But again, in conjunction with boiling, it's a really good way of cleaning water that doesn't have any kind of chemical contaminants and things like that in it. You can also, you know, triple up on it, and you can stick some purification tabs in there as well. Now I've just got a standard Nalgene water bottle here. And I think, to be honest, if you're prepping, everyone's going to have something like this. Whether it's a Nalgene bottle, it could just be, you know, an empty Coke bottle. It could be, you know, your camping bottle, whatever it is you use. But you also want something for holding water. Now I've got dozens of different types. I've got another one just sitting over in the corner here. Standard aluminium camping bottle. Doesn't matter what it is, but you need something. If you don't have any water, and you're having to go and collect it from somewhere to bring it back to wherever you are, whether it's your home, whether it's your bug out location or whatever, you need a way of carrying water. Now in my bushcraft kit I've got, you know, collapsible 5-litre water bottles. You know, I've got things like this, I've got stainless steel canteens, I've got pretty much every kind of bottle going. And depending on what I'm doing and whether it's summer or winter, depends on what I take with me. But just having something on hand, just to transport water, either water that you've cleaned and you want to take with you somewhere, or you're going to a source of water that you're a bit unsure of, so you need to collect it and then take it with you to purify elsewhere. Just my view on it is just make sure you have something like this, just a way of carrying your water around with you. And finally, I want to show you this. Now, it's not been in one of my videos before, and I do plan on doing a proper video on this product. I've been using it for a couple of years now, and I really do rate. And this is a lifesaver bottle. Now, I've just got a little collapsible cup that I keep in there just for ease of use. And very, very simply, I mean, this is it. Just give you a bit of a close-up on the camera there. You may have heard of these before. Now, a lifesaver bottle, it was a product, as far as I understand, was originally developed for the military. It's used a lot over in third world countries as a way of, I mean, they do different versions. This is the personal version. They do huge jerry can versions of them as well. And basically, inside here, hopefully you can see there. So you can see, hopefully, a white tube in there with little holes in the side. That is a filter. And what that does, you open this up like so. You fill it full of water. This sponge on here acts as a filter for any sort of debris and things like that. You take this part out, pump it, open the other end, open this little bit here, and you can see I've already got a little bit of water trickling out there. And what it does, it works under a pressure system. So basically you can fill this with contaminated water, and when I say contaminated, you know, we're talking things that might have sort of viruses, you know, biological nasties in there. And as I say, I will do a proper video on this, because I've used this in some really, really nasty conditions, deliberately, just to see kind of what it would do. And essentially, dirty, muddy, horrible water in there will come out looking like this. And as I say, I will do a proper video on that and take it through the motions. But the benefit I find of the lifesaver bottle, now there's lots of different water filters on the market. You've got the Catadin filters that I've used, they're really, really good. You've got lots of the Life Straw, various different other makes and brands, and they're all pretty good. I certainly wouldn't knock any of them. But this was the only one at the time on the market when I bought it that will go down to, and I must admit I should have looked at the spec before I did this video, and I haven't, so I apologise. But this is essentially the best filter you can get. It will go down as far as microbes and viruses and whatever the smallest, or like protozoa and things like that. It will take out pretty much 99.9% of viruses. Now for me, all of my bushcrafting is in the UK. There are very, very few waterborne nasties that this can't deal with in the UK. It won't get rid of heavy metals, it won't get rid of most sort of chemical things. I mean, I think it does do some of them, and by all means jump on the Lifesaver website, it will tell you a lot more and a lot more clearly than I can what it does. It's not a massively cheap piece of kit, but it's not hugely expensive in comparison to other brands and makes as well. So you know, you can pick one of these up, I think probably for about £100 now, with the filter and all the bits and pieces that go with it. And that may have changed, so I think that's roughly what I paid. I mean, they may have gone up or down since then. But they're really, really good. The only downside of these, and I'll go into more detail on this when I do the next video about this specifically, is that you don't get a huge amount of water out of it quickly. So you do have to put in a bit of effort to clean your water. The dribble that you saw coming out of there wasn't as the highest flow that comes out, but it's not hugely more powerful than that when you've really pumped it up. So you'll get a container like this. I mean, to fill this, now this is a 32 ounce or a litre bottle. It would probably take me about 10 minutes with this and a couple of fills to fill this bottle. Now it's not the end of the world by any means, and when I go bushcrafting I'm quite happy to sit there and just kind of go at my own pace. But if you're in a situation where you needed lots of water constantly, this would take a while, and you probably need to think about maybe investing in the larger jerry can version. I think it's a 10-litre jerry can or something like that these things do, and that will give you a lot quicker and a lot more ready water than the personal version. But for my purposes, for bushcraft, and just for me and the wife, while we're if we ever get cut off and we need water because we don't have it available in the house, this will be absolutely ideal. But these are basically the things that I would use for purifying water if I didn't have a safe supply to drink from. And again, I'm only really looking at being kind of stuck for whatever reason in my house. I'm not looking to bug out. But I'm probably looking at 2 or 3 days at the very most, and these things will certainly keep me going, provided I've got a supply of water. If it's the height of summer, we don't really get sort of droughts over in the UK, certainly not as other parts of the world would know them. But if I was in a really dry, hot summer, there would only be very few places I could go to. Now where I live, you've got quite a few streams, rivers, ponds and things within reasonable walking distance. So if I had to, I could stick a Bergen on, a lot of empty bottles, go down there, fill them all, kind of hike the way back to my house, and then purify it there, and that's certainly doable for me. I'd rather not do that, and if we had the opportunity, I'd try and avoid it. But the other alternative, and something I did a number of years ago that I've since stopped doing because it kind of seemed a little bit wasteful and not worth the effort. Every time I had an empty drinks bottle, I would wash it out, sterilise it, put some water from the tap in there, a couple of drops of bleach, give it a good shake, seal it, and I had a stock of maybe, I don't know, probably 40 or 50 2-litre bottles at one point. Now obviously that water in theory should last a couple of years. I put a little date on them and everything else, and it got to a point where I thought, I've got so many bottles of this stuff, and the likelihood of me needing it, and that's what a lot of my preps are, what is the likelihood of me needing this? I don't need 15 years worth of vacuum sealed food. It's just, it doesn't work in my view of what I need my preps for. And the same goes for water. It'd be useful for me to maybe have, I don't know, 20 or 30 litres sticking around somewhere. I haven't really got the space for it, and I don't feel it's a massive necessity, bearing in mind I do have water sources close by. I'm sure I would rue that decision if I ever really did need to survive for sort of 3 or 4 days, and I'm sure I'd get very bored very quickly of going collecting water. But for my purposes at the moment, these kind of things are exactly what I think I need. So I hope it was useful, guys. I hope it's given you something to think about if you're looking at starting your own preps, or you've got your own and you're looking at other things you can perhaps use. Hit like and subscribe if you'd like to see more, and I hope you'll all join me next time. Thanks, guys.